Okay, so today I'm going to talk about multi-camera editing. This should be a pretty quick tutorial. What is multi-camera editing? Well, it's when you use multiple cameras to film at the same time. And what you're looking to do is be able to switch between the cameras so you get different viewpoints of the same action unfolding. So in my case, we can see that I have 3 cameras and they've all effectively been filming at the same time. Now the project's already been created, and what I've done is back up, which I'll come back to at some point. I've backed up all of the tracks that I would be working with and laid them out exactly how I want to. So I'm just going to go ahead in the trimmer and play one of these clips. Let's try this one. In fact, this is what I want to show you.
1, 2.
So I do a counting.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, you heard the clapping sound. So the clapping sound was used when all 3 cameras were filming to synchronize the timing of when they would all start. Okay, so if I can get all 3 clips and align them to the sound of that clap, we're on the track to being able to do multi-camera editing. Normally in a professional setup they would use a clapper board. This has the advantage of A, making the clap, B, it includes information about what's being filmed, the take, and so on. And that visual element is important. If you were to be filming with a camera that was quite far away, you would factor in the speed of sound such that when you heard a clapping sound, what you see on the screen and the sound behind it could actually be out of sync with other cameras that are closer to the action. So you may end up using the visual element to do the alignment. In my particular filming for this, all the cameras are very close to each other and sound speed would not be a factor. So back to the preview, just to show you what I achieved when I created this backup of the 3 tracks.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so remember we're going to get to the clap. You can see here, if we zoom in, that the clap sound is pretty obvious. So what I was looking to do, I'm going to drag that out to where it can be anywhere. I'm just going to create another track and we'll remove that in a moment. But I create my track, or you can do this in the trimmer, and I zoom into it. Fortunately, I've got a nasty feeling I had auto ripple on, so that may have had some repercussions, so we'll Control Z out of that. We're going to let me zoom all the way out, just make sure that I'm not overlapping the other videos. I'm not. Okay, so that's perfect. So let's zoom back in. We're looking for that big spike, or I can just click back in the video preview. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so we've got our clap. It was, if we expand the audio track, we can actually see it there. It's pretty obvious. So I'm going to keep zooming in, and I'm just going to keep shortening the video so that as I zoom in there's less hangover. We can see now we're at actual frame level, and I have quantized the frames on, so the cursor is going to jump between frames. You'll notice that audio, less so in this particular video, obviously audio still plays while a frame is held. So while a frame is being displayed by your GPU, for instance, during that time audio is still being recorded. So what I've done anyway is move to the start of the clap, I'll remove that crossfade that gets added, and I've gone ahead and done that with each of the 3 clips, and I use that to then line them all up. So let's go and have a look at how I did that in the track here. Now notice that I've lined them up and I've split the audio out so that each of the 3 audios are next to each other. It'd just be a little bit easier to see when I zoom in what I actually achieved. Okay, so Notice, and this is quite an important thing, back to that quantizing frames. You'll see here that the audio, this is the frame, this is the audio. This audio is not, where the clap starts, it's not perfect with the actual alignment of the frame itself. Now, what I can do, let me first of all just go ahead and play these. Now, one advantage of the track group is you can mute and unmute all at once, all of the tracks that are in that group. So let me go ahead and video preview play that. I'll zoom out so it's not so crazy. You can't actually tell, there's that clap, you can't really actually tell that 3 claps were taking place from the 3 different soundtracks. I mean, it's 1 clap heard 3 times. However, if it were to bother you that much, when you actually drag a track in, it's usually grouped, in fact it is grouped with the audio, so the video and the audio are in one group. I select say a video or the audio and then press the U key to ungroup it. This will actually detach the audio from the video. This means that you can make fine adjustments to the audio without affecting the video track. So let's go back in to where we were. And if I want to now move this to the exact point where it claps, notice I'm not moving it more than a frame, it's just being shifted back, say half a frame or so. Now we can do the same with this one. Yeah, we can pretty much get what I would assume is all of the claps at the same time, like perfectly synced on audio. Bear in mind that if you was to move it too far, it would actually go out of sync with the actual video, and it might look a little bit strange. Okay, so they would be now in perfect alignment. I've got to go ahead and save that project. Okay, so all of my videos are lined up perfectly. I'm going to select them all. I've got a feeling that they all moved when I had auto ripple on. Move them all back to the beginning. Now, we all know how Vegas works, that the higher track takes precedence. So when I play this, it's this video that's going to keep getting played. And we won't see what's underneath it until it becomes visible, just merely because nothing's above it. So if I zoom in here, we can see that it immediately flicks to this longest one here, because there's nothing above. So that's important. Now, so I created the backup. There were the 2 tracks that just got added. I want to go delete those. Okay, so the backup. I'm going to mute it. And why even create a backup? Well, you'll see that when you do multi-camera editing, you might end up doing it a few times before you get it right. And some people would save multiple versions of the file. So I could save this, but I could go save as and say, you know, this is V1, V2, V3, and so on. Or you can create a backup within the same project and mute them all. So I want to do multi-camera editing, so one advantage of the group, you can select the top. You can't right click on the group and duplicate tracks. What you can do is right click on a track and click duplicate track. I've gone ahead and done that, and they are selected automatically as they've been duplicated, but they're still within the group. I want to take them out of that group. I'll just drag that underneath. So now we can go back. I'm going to, I don't know why they're listed as muted, I guess because they're in the track, is that right? Yes. Okay, so the backup's there, and these are the duplicates that I've created. I'm going to go ahead and actually create another track group those, and go and name that track group working. This is what I'm working on. I'll go ahead and save that. Right. So, how would we enable multi-camera editing? Well, we select all the tracks, and they are already selected, and we go into Tools, Multi-Camera, create multi-camera track. Notice enable multi-camera editing. Well, you can only do that if you have a multi-camera track. So when we do this, it's going to basically convert all the 3 video lines. I'll also point out, just before I do, that, well, we'll come back to that. It's going to combine all of the 3 videos and all of the 3 audios into a single track. It's actually just a view on 3 tracks. Okay, we've gone ahead and done that. Now, we're still, if we look in the video preview, looking at only one camera. And that's because we did not enable multi-camera editing. I'm going to do that in a moment. But I want you to see that edit multi-camera audio with video is currently not checked on mine. Okay, so I'm going to enable multi-camera editing. Now watch the preview window. Okay, so this is the interesting part. We've got the 3 cameras all visible at the same time. And notice that the currently visible one has a blue border around it. Now if you look into the actual timeline, you'll see basically what it's done here. It's taken, there were 3 clips and they're all differing lengths. So effectively what it's done is, just look at the way the cameras are visible. The first clip wasn't as long as the second clip, so there was some overhang from the second one. And the third clip was actually the longest one. So there's overhang from that. So clearly the one that is currently visible is the one with the highest precedence in the track order. And if you were to mute something above you, above the track above, then it no longer has the precedence because it's not visible, and it would display the track below. And that is basically what this multi-camera editing is doing. So we'll see that in a moment. Notice 1, 2, 3. Now these correspond to keys on your keyboard. So if I were to place, watch what happens. And remember that this view exists here in the preview because multi-camera editing is enabled. I'll just point that out. It has a check. Now, I think by default audio with video is selected. I suggest you keep that on. You may find there are some situations, which I've had to do, where I didn't want to edit the audio along with the video. In fact, I tend not to want to, because if I were to do that, what it actually does is it jumps the audio, and this would depend on your scene, but it would mute the audio of the other tracks so that it's only playing the audio with the video that is currently playing. But that may not be what you want. You may want to hear all 3 tracks playing at the same time, so you don't want to be muting the audio of the other 2 tracks in my example. You don't want to mute them, you want to hear them as well. So I'm going to go back and not mess with the audio when I do a cut. So remember, we're currently playing number 1. Let's say I want it to show camera 2. I'm going to press 2 on my keyboard, and notice what it's done. It's inserted a cut right there, and it switched from note 10 to hero 7. Okay, so here we are, watch. I'm going to press number 3. And look, it's moved to hero 4. Let's press number 1, and it's gone back to note 10. Okay, and back to number 3. Okay, so you can go ahead and do all of your multi-camera edits like that. But the beauty of one of the, if you like, a huge time saver is to click play, and in real time, 1
from the garage.
2 3
But first,
2 1.
let's see what's behind the garage.
Okay, so the cuts are done while it's playing, and because we have enable multi-camera editing on, or multi-track, I always forget what it's called. Yeah, multi-camera editing. Okay, so that's in essence how it works. Now notice the cuts are already there, and you can Control Z your way out of them if you got them wrong, or you can go in and try to edit them yourself. So move the visible portions in. Now I'm not sure what the effect is with auto ripple on or off in this scenario. So what I'm going to show you is what it effectively did. One way to do that is to go and expand it back to multiple tracks. Let's do that. Now here it asks you to keep, would you like the unused takes as muted events would you like to keep them? I'm going to select no, just to show you effectively what it did. So because I'm not keeping them, if you see a gap, then what would have occurred is that the video that was there was kept, but it was in a muted state. So let me click no. There you go. So we were playing track 1 and 2. Notice I've still got multi-camera editing enabled, but it's all now considered to be track 1 because there's only one visible. I'm still in multi-camera view, so I would actually switch that one off. Now, of course, this means that you can now go and fine-tune and edit, drag things right where you need them to be. But it's taken the hard work out of doing all the cutting. It's actually removed these portions. If I had kept the muted portions, they would still exist right here. You would still have that playing, but it would be muted. Therefore, it would only be displaying this, and then this would have existed muted, so it would only be playing this. And that's pretty much all there is to multi-camera editing. You find that you might end up in a situation where you'd like to keep redoing the takes. I think I've already covered that with the backup. So if I'm not really happy with that, I can either reload any V1, V2 project, or I can just Control Z my way out of it, or I can select my group and delete them all and start again. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. There's going to be more on Vegas Pro 16 that I'd like to cover. So I hope this has helped you out, and thanks once again for listening and watching an Itshadadz Tech Head production.